Okay. Hello, all. Happy Sunday. Happy long weekend. So, a couple of things. Remember that the market is closes early tomorrow for the holiday. It closes at 1 p.m. And then we are closed on Tuesday. So, basically, it's closed for 2 days because usually we don't get a whole lot of movement on a half day, but we might. So, there are possibly still some things that can go on. What I did want to point out, though, is that we even have data on Monday that could affect something. So just understand next week is a data heavy week and it's a short week. So we're talking like volatility, most likely. Okay. So nothing on Tuesday, of course, because it's the 4th. But then on Wednesday, we have FOMC minutes. It's not listed here, but Powell will probably speak at 2:30 to talk about those minutes. And then Thursday, we have the regular things, another speech, JOLTS jobs opening. And then on Friday, non-farm payrolls. So understand that this may be a somewhat volatile week because we have a lot of data dropping this week. So, we are actually getting into a new quarter, a new month. Time frame continuity is going to be out of whack. So one of the best things to do is to look at Frank's scanner that is trying to load here and make your watch list. And I did a video on how to do that, and I will link it here. And then go through these. Take the time to go through these and see what's going on, where things set up. This is probably the easiest way to scan excuse me, guys, to scan everything and get your setups listed for you, So yeah, check out that video on that. So all right, let's get into it, you guys. We have a lot to look at because we have new quarters now. So we're going to look at things on the quarter and the month to see how they set up so far. So looking at VIX, as you can see, is still in our downtrend. We're still kind of sitting at support, and we still do have more room to drop. So we're still looking to see if VIX is going to keep going. As long as the market keeps going, VIX is going to keep going down. We're kind of in this area, this chop area here, but we can still go down to about $11 if it did want to go down. So also keep in mind we have a new 2-week bar starting as well with all of these, and I'll show you some 2-week setups as well, of course. So remember last week we were saying, we had our inside week correction. Maybe we'll have one more week of correction, and then we might, boom. Yeah, we had like another day of correction, and then it boomed. So the VIX only had a little bit here and came right back in. So that's what the VIX is looking like. Let's look at the dollar, because it was basically stuck for the longest time. And as you can see, this entire quarter ended as a doji. There's nobody in control here. So it's an inside month, but it's red. But you can see here where we are in terms of the Broadening formation. 2-week chart, it could possibly do a 2 down, 2 up. But it's basically stuck in this area right here. The NASDAQ, we already know our stuff did really good. Like we had a lot of things in the NASDAQ that just boomed. A lot of the charts are going to look like this. Go down to the month. That's how we ended. There's no actionable signal. However, there is room still to the upside if it wants to go. We are at a resistance, a heavy resistance here, but if it wants to keep going, we do have 2-week chart. There is an actionable hammer here. So a 2, 1, 2 up. This is your first target, and then 15, 4, 5, 4, and then it can come up to the top of that broadening formation. So NASDAQ could look good. Excuse me, it could also be ooh, something like that. It can also do a 3-2 up. That 3-2 up would trigger that 2-week. Okay, so that's how the Nasdaq is looking. You know that we're still above our 200, so I don't really have to check these on the daily. And plus, we have so much to get through. We're not going to really look at the dailies this week. We're just going to look at the quarterlies to see what we have here. So the Dow, you know, this has been kind of the one that's been stuck while the Nasdaq and everything else is pushing. This has been stuck, and you see here we almost had a double inside quarter, but we barely took out the last quarter's high. So it's really interesting to see what it would do. It doesn't, like, it's not too far, but the only possible setup here would be a rev strat on the quarter. So it would have to die a lot to do that. 325 would be its trigger to the downside if it did that. On the monthly, we're still dead smack in the middle of this Barnard formation. We're still just chopping right here. So that's how we're looking. And we also have that inside hammer on the 2-week as a possible trigger to the upside. So could 3-2 up on the week, which could be how we start out next week. If we are bullish, maybe up until Powell, or you know, we could even do another sideways and then Powell booms it, or it's hard to predict where it will go, but we just know that the signals that we can look for. We can look for a 3-2. It could do a 3-1. You know, a 3-2 down would be a lot. It would have to break 336, but that's what we would look for. IWM has an actionable signal on the quarter. It has finally, if you look at this, slowly grinding up. But we do have a somewhat hammer here, ended strong inside month. So if we can break this 189.60, which is a very, very strong resistance, then we're looking at a $10 run, 199. All right, so looking at it on the month, did that 3-2 up. And so we're still smack in the middle of this Broadening formation. It also has a 2-week signal. So there's not enough range, a lot of range to that first target, but if it decides to continue this bullish trend, it may boom. So keep in mind, if you look at it here, it's rejected every time it's hit this 100. And it's sitting at a really kind of awkward place where it can really kind of go either way. I'm thinking up, but it's rejected here 1, 2, this is almost 3, 4 times. Well, nope, this 4th time it didn't reject. It closed above. So really interesting to see what IWM does. Since it closed above, it may decide that it's ready to push out of this area, because this is an entire chop area. Yeah, first it was this chop area. We broke out, but then we're stuck in this chop area. So it'd be nice if it can break out and then start moving to the upside. So that's IWM. QQQ looks exactly like the Nasdaq. So no actionable signal on the quarterly or the month, but on the 2-week we do have a hammer here. And people say, okay, well, you know, is it exhausted? And there's still how much can it go? It's been bought up. It's been green. Yeah, we're saying that we also think that we'll have that correction, and then they keep buying it up. So it can keep going, you know, and we'll see that with Apple and Microsoft and things like that. Like, they can keep going. And if they keep going, they're going to push the Qs, especially like things like Meta and Netflix. Then also keep in mind, we do have earnings season that is coming up probably in, I think it's about 2 weeks. So we're ending June. Usually, I think bank earnings are next week. And then after that, we're going to get into the thick of earnings season. So really interesting to see if earnings is going to push some of these things to fill these gaps, or if we're going to die after we've been pushing for so long. So Qs also has that 3-2 possible up on the week. Could also be inside, but we could do a 3-2 up. And then, you know, we do have room to go to the top of that broadening formation. So SPY looks similar to the Qs, no actionable signal, but still room to go to the upside. So where can it go? With 458.56 will be our next target to the upside on SPY. It does not have that inside hammer, but it does have, it just barely took out last week's high. So it could still continue to go, and it can do a 3-2. So if it breaks this 444, then it can 3-2 up and make it to 450. That would be the next target. 457 and then 462. So we can definitely keep going. Last week we were saying here we had the 2-1. We were looking for the 2-1-2 down. What it did is on Monday it did do that 2-1-2 down. It didn't quite hit the target, and it reversed and gave us a 3, which is normally, not normally, but a lot of times that does happen after a 1 bar. We'll get a 3. So we got our 3. And now we're looking to see that since we had our TTO and the bull stepped in, are they going to continue buying and push us to the upside? Remember, again, time frame continuity is going to be a little out of whack for a while, but you know, we still do see the trend here, and we're not going to fight the trend. Apple, baby. So Apple basically pushed through this last broadening formation, and Apple is reaching new highs now. And it's interesting because we were talking about, well, I had just had a weekly broadening formation that I removed off of this chart, and last week we were saying, okay, well, where can Apple go? Apple can go to this 194, and then when we were looking at it on the monthly, we said it could possibly go up to 198 and then 200. That's the top of the monthly broadening formation. It looks a little bit different when you look at here on the 2 week. But that's where Apple can go. And, you know, after 200, then it's really just psychological targets at that point. You have 205, 210, that type of thing. Apple just got an upgrade, price target upgrade, saying that it could get above 200. So just look at this. A rally, base, rally, base, rally, base, rally. So maybe some basing time before the next rally up to 198. But Apple had an awesome week, and that's kind of what helped push everything. And same thing with Microsoft. It also had an awesome week. It has hit the top of the broadening formation that I have for it, though, and it rejected. So where can it go? It can still, you know, keep going. If it wanted to, 357.88 would be my next target to the upside on Microsoft. As you can see, it's just had several green months. It's just been going straight up, grinding up. We also have an inside almost hammer here for the 2 week bar. So if it breaks that 343, then it can definitely get up to the 352 all-time highs again, and then possibly go for that 354 area. So this is the 2 week chart, so it may take some time, but remember that. And the same thing, that 3-2 could trigger that 2 week to the upside. So if Microsoft and Apple goes, it's definitely going to push SPY and the QQQ. So remember that. All right, Meta. I just want to point out Meta because Meta has also been on a tear. Just look at this. Straight up. Straight up. All right, so there are no actionable signals. Well, there is one here on the week if it wants to go. Oh, this is a 2-up. Nope, no signal here. But what I did want to point out is that we are still grinding our way up towards this gap over here. So ultimately, that is the first target, this 316.67. That's going to be the first target for Meta to fill that gap it was grinding towards, and then possibly take out this high here at 328.50. So Meta could possibly do that with the next earnings, which is going to be on the 26th of July. So yeah, you may say, oh, I already missed this earnings, this run up. You may have missed some, but just look at the pattern here and see where it corrects and it goes back into the trend. Right now it's in a base mode. So if it bases from here and decides to break out, playing that breakout with some time to fill that gap. So it could do something like that. Or it might even wait to earnings base, since it's done a nice run up. It may base until earnings and then fill that gap. So just keep in mind that there's a gap there. And then there's another one that has a gap, Netflix, that is working its way towards. First, it has to take out this swing high here at this 459, but then it's going to get into this gap area and go towards this 508 possibly. And Netflix earnings is on July 19th, so that was another one I just wanted to point out. It's still working its way up here, filling all of this up. So understand that Netflix and Meta with those gap fills could possibly move the indices a lot. And then there's also Tesla. Tesla could still also, I think it was, yes, the outside year on Tesla. This is what I wanted to point out. So if we stay bullish and Tesla can stay above 255.45, because we know also that that is an area it can reject. So because we've closed above it so far, that's so far so good. If we can stay above it, our target is going to be 402.66. But remember, this is on the year. So Tesla could possibly do an outside year. Keep that in mind. Google is another one. Nope, it's not this one. I think it's Google. Nope, it's not. Y'all, hold on. Oh, it was Amazon. Sorry. It was Amazon. Amazon could possibly do the outside year. So if it can stay above 126.55, then 171.40 is going to be our outside target year. Our outside year target. So, we're looking at that moving. We're looking at Tesla possibly doing an outside year. Meta possibly filling its gap. Netflix possibly filling its gap. That is all of the signs for the indices to move up. Now, because Apple and Microsoft have already hit all-time highs, while the rest of these are still struggling to fill gaps, that may give us a little bit of chop because, these are at all-time highs, but it does not mean that they cannot still continue. All right, so getting into the sectors, looking at them on the the quarterly. We got XLY, no actionable signal there. Actually, let's look at it on the month really quickly. No actionable signal on the month, but it definitely it was beautiful. You guys, look at that. That's just wonderful. So that is XLY. XLC, same thing. It's been moving. It triggered. It's gone. There's no actionable signal on the quarter or on the month. It's just been green. XLK is kind of the same thing. And some of these do have 2-week setups, and we'll get into that. But right now, for these, we're just going to look at the 3-month and the monthly to see if we find any actionable signals. There is not. XLE, we have been watching energy. Now, energy is something we do want to kind of notice. So energy here on the quarter has a double inside quarter. Again, not a STRAT signal, right? However, we do know that it is mostly in a downtrend. You can kind of see this right here, but at the same time, this is almost a flag. So this could go either way. It's looking more towards the downside though, but if it can break, it may break through with some force, because we know the longer the consolidation, the bigger the movement, and a double inside quarter is a very long consolidation. That just means for the entire first half of the year, it moved sideways. So it can definitely break explosively in one direction or the other. Does not necessarily mean it will completely fall, because it was so green last year, and that could have just been its correction. It had an entire green year, and then it took a 6-month correction. So then from there it can move. So I think energy you should really keep your eyes on energy and see what it does this upcoming next quarter to kind of decide how it's going to move for the rest of the year. Still inside year, and we kind of knew that, right? So, yeah, that's XLE. XLF, we have an inside quarter. So that is an actionable signal, possible 2-1-2 up. So watch financials, see how financials act next quarter. But they ended pretty strong. Not quite a hammer, but it's bullish, and the bulls are in control. So let's see if they keep control next quarter and start moving this back to the upside. Looking at it on the month, is not an actionable signal here, but again, it's at a rejection point. So interesting to see if it can break above here. XLU is kind of like energy. So you have your double inside quarter here, and is it going to break? We kind of have a head and shoulders here. This is the shoulder area. So again, utilities for about 6 months was a little bit sideways. So now looking to see which way it's going to break. It's looking like it will break to the downside, but you know, for all we know, it could TTO in 3. You know, so we just know that after, look at this double inside quarter here. You had this double inside quarter, and the way they were both green, and then it boomed to the upside. So now we have this double inside quarter where it's both red. I am looking for that to possibly boom to the downside, come down to the 60. So watch utilities. You also have an inside monk and a somewhat, this is not really a gravestone doji. I believe the gravestone has to be like, well, yeah, no, this is because the shooter is down there. Yeah, so this is, it's green though, but it's still inside monk. So this inside monk down could possibly trigger the quarter. So that is the actionable signal for XLU. XLI is over here basically making all-time highs, new 52-week highs. So no actionable signal there on the quarter or the month. Just from here, it is psychological targets. So you would be looking for 110 next on XLI to the upside. XLV, another double inside quarter, but I think this one is a little bit more in conflict because you had a red quarter and then you had a green quarter. So just which way is it going to go, or is it going to 3 come over here and take out both of these and then come back down, or vice versa, or whichever it decides to do. But it is a double inside quarter here, which just means that, again, 6 months it stayed in this range. Is it going to explode one way or the other? You also have an inside month that is green. So this is pretty much a chop area though, so I would really just wait for it to break from on one side or the other on the quarter to get a stronger move there. So XLP, it's a possible rev strat here on the quarter. Now this is like a doji, so this is not really saying anybody's in control. However, it is red. So if it does push to the downside and break the 7231, then we can target 6615 on consumer staples. So that is an actionable signal there. On the month, it could possibly 322 up if it does not want to break down. So it could push back up and then break out, because this is sort of a inverted head and shoulders here, but it would be critical for it to hold this area, 72 area. If it doesn't, then it most likely will break down, and you can play that to the downside. Real estate, inside quarter, almost a hammer. So if they can break above 38, this may start pushing to the upside. It's like these past 2 quarters have been dojis, so that's just, it's kind of a whipsaw, but it looks like here the bulls took control. So interesting to see if they keep control and can start pushing this to the upside. XLB materials, absolutely beautiful hammer right here. Wait, I thought, no, I was thinking something else. Okay, yeah, XLB, beautiful hammer, beautiful hammer. So looking for this break above 83.12 to hit that 85.90. That will be the target. So you know, this was one of those, it almost did the 3, it didn't. So we're looking for it to finish next quarter. So look at your favorite materials stock, and it probably, if it has this type of setup, then you definitely want that. I mean, look, all the EMAs are turning up on the quarter. Looks absolutely beautiful. So you found your support. and you boom. So there's no actionable signal on that monthly there, but that quarter looks great. So definitely look for your favorite XLB sector stock. XOP has a hammer. It's red, but it's a hammer, and it's inside. So this is kind of a chop area here. Really interesting to see which way it could go. This could go either way. It's almost like technically in the middle, even on the quarter of these EMAs. So if it breaks down, that would be great. If it breaks up, that could be great. This is also looks like a flag. So this looks like a flag or rally base. So it may come TTO and go, or it may just 2-1-2 up. But have to see. But watch your favorite XOP stock. If it can, the bulls really can step in, then it can definitely move. And by the way, and if y'all are missing some of the dailies, we'll look at those next week. Okay. All right. So XRT, look at this hammer, you guys. This is one that Jermaine Strat Soldier put on my radar after watching the weekend shift yesterday. He mentioned this. Now, this is the type of hammer that's like beautiful. This is they stepped in and there was no question. So really looking for a break here. I like the magnitude from 64 up here to this resistance 75. So you got a $10 run there. So find your favorite retail stock, and you might be able to play that for that run up. And then on the monthly, you got that 3-2 up that can trigger that quarter. So nice one triggers the other thing there. Jets. So travel. You guys know it's July. A lot of people have been traveling. I've been talking about airlines for a while, and I think that Jets still has a little bit more room to go. There is no actionable signal here, but if it does trigger if it does break above 23.72, then I want y'all to notice that this, I don't know why it doesn't have it on here, but this is an inside bar. So this is a 1-2 down, 2 up. So if this does a rev strat, 1-2 rev strat on the year, then Jets could get up to this 32.46. So it's not a big mover. As you can see, ATR is like 38 cents. So this is something that be like a swing, or it's so cheap you can actually buy shares. I have shares of this. So, but you can also find your favorite airline, like for instance, UAL. That is moving like that. So the Jets ETF, lithium battery, almost hammer here inside month. So that break above 67, looking to see if it can get to the 73. And then there is no actionable signal in the month, but we did have these 2 months of consolidation and it broke out. So looking to see if the bulls are going to continue to the upside there. And then China, ouch. Yeah, this, well, yen in particular really has hit new 52-week lows. So that's really support. Why is this? This is showing me something different, y'all. Y'all see this, right? It says 34.26, but then, okay, that's where it closed. Yes. All right. I'm tripping, y'all. 22.18 or 19.66, which is the 52-week low, is going to be support there. No actionable signal there, but on the month, if it does 2-1-2 down, it has to break 30, and then it can get to that 21 and then at 19. So this kind of looks like an H here, like it's going to continue, but it could definitely, I mean, it's green, but it is a shooter on the month. So that is a somewhat actionable signal, which we'll actually talk about BABA shortly. Then another one I wanted to point out is IYT, which is the transportation ETF. And because I was just mentioning summer vacation and travel and things like that, I was looking up some of the good ETFs. Jets is one of them, but this is another one. IYT is no actionable signal here, but you can see that it is green. The bulls have taken control. It broke out of this sideways action here, so you want to see if it's going to continue. If it can break through this hard resistance at 250, then it does have some upside. So that's it with the sectors. Oh, we already did XLE. ZOM on the quarter did not outside quarter. Remember, we were looking for that. It may or may not finish it next quarter. Remember, we were talking about that with XLE. With XLE, because we have this double inside, whichever way it breaks, watch ZOM to see what ZOM does. Again, it does not have an actionable signal there, but if XLE does on the month do that 2 up, 2 down, 2 down, 2 up, then ZOM can as well. But they are still looking bearish to me. SOXL, our cheapy chip semiconductor, is still doing good and still has room to go to the upside. So remember that this is one that you, again, it's like jets. You should probably buy shares or just go really, really, really long. It's at a resistance, a hard resistance, this 27. But if it can break through there, like, you know, the chips can continue moving to the upside, then 39 is our next swing target. So SOXL, AMD. Now AMD has a 3-2 up red on the month. It's not quite a shooter, but I will be watching to see if this is going to come correct back down to probably about $100 and may not make it to this 98. The full target here is this 81. I do not think that AMD will come down that far, but it is totally possible. However, I think that we have had our correction here, and if anything, it could possibly 2 down, 2 up on the 2 week and take us back up in the direction of the trend that has been going. And then we have this hammer here on the week. So see, we had our run, base, drop, TTL, and bull step back in. So are they going to keep it? You know, how are we going to move from here? So if it does, it could possibly even be a nice weekly play if it breaks above this 115 back up to this 121.73. So I will be watching AMD because of this hammer on the week, and then trying to see how it reacts, if it continues or if it rejects and has that 3-2 down on the monthly, because it can still come back down and test this. I think we have a gap. Oh no, we filled that gap. So see, yeah, that was the first thing. We filled the gap on the day, based here, and then moved back up. So I think it's really at a critical point because it can certainly reject right here. I wouldn't touch it as long as it's right here. So we would need to either break above there to go back in the direction of the trend, or we need to break below here for that 3-2 down on the month. Oh, we looked at that. And then BABA. So BABA just barely triggered to the downside there. But what we have here on the month, and Kiki brought this to our attention, we have a shooter on the month here. This, so if this does a 2 up, 2 down, 78 is a really, really strong support. So we would have to really see, you know, what it would do. It could go either way. You know, this could be an inverted head and shoulders, and this is our shoulder area. So really watching BABA to see if it can hold here and move back to the upside, or if it's going to continue to fall. When you look at it, there's no 2 week or weekly actionable signal. But if you look at it on the 4 hour, we are under all the EMAs, and we have, and you see where this area is? This is why this is a pretty strong support, because it was for the most part resistance before, and so now this is support. So if this can hold, we are looking to see if BABA can break back to the upside, at least come and fill up a couple of these gaps. Or if this is weak, then it has a pretty big range. It can fall down, back down to 79.34. Look at it like this. Is a shoulder, head, shoulder. So we are in the shoulder area. Does it hold? If not, it's going to probably die. China has been weak ever since the start of the year. It started strong and then they smacked it down. It got 2 good months. No, just January. Yeah, that was it. It got 1 good month. This the start of this year, and then it's just been. I mean, honestly, it actually has been in this downtrend. I thought that it was going to break out, but nope. All right, moving along. Because we have, I think, yeah, this is it. All right, your 2-week setups. So keep in mind, this, I think right now, having these 2-week setups as, at this particular time is great because your 2-week setups, your 1 week could trigger your 2-week, especially if you saw some on your weeklies. Your 1 week could trigger your 2-week that triggers the month, that triggers the quarter. Or 2-week could trigger the month and the quarter. It's just so many things that it can do, so many ways that it can move. Starbucks is my top on this list, and I'll actually have a video on that soon on how you can actually make this play. So Starbucks has a double inside 2 weeks. That means for the last month, it has for the most part been stuck in this area and not doing a whole lot. So looking to see what Starbucks does from here. Again, not an actionable signal, but it can break out. So you would find your actionable signal possibly on this week. You know, if it does the red strat and then it dies from there, or however, you may find it on the 4-hour. Nike got an inside 2 week. Here's a doji, so not a strong actionable signal, but it is an inside. Nike actually just had earnings. Jermaine was just talking a whole bunch of junk about that. But there is an actionable signal there on the 2 week. CRM also has an inside 2 week. It is a shooter, but green. So Target also inside. COP, we have a possible rev strat here. It's a hammer, but it's red, but it's still a rev strat. And then if it can really break above that 106, it may actually fly. See all these wicks. They're buying it up. eBay, you got a 2 down, 2 up reversal. Not a ton of magnitude there, but could possibly break out. Maybe trigger something else. XLK we talked about. Favorite technology stock may have a hammer on the 2 week. We also talked about XLC having a hammer on the 2 week. And XRT having a inside 2 week, where if it breaks this range, it can finally possibly break out. IWM, we also mentioned, has a hammer in a 2 week. QQQ, which also means that TQQQ also has this. Now, we don't often talk about this one, but I know that this is an alternative to playing the Qs. It's actually a cheaper alternative to playing the Qs. It's kind of like how SMH and SOXL track the same things, but SOXL is cheaper. This is the Qs and TQQQ. So if this can really break out, this might break out to the upside. Yeah, there's no actionable signal there. I just wanted to look. Microsoft with our 2 week, which could again push the Qs. JP Morgan has a 3 hammer, so looking to see if they continue it. If this stays inside, I wouldn't touch it, but I only like to look for it when they do a 3-2 up and continue the trend. So remember, we were looking at XLF and we saw the XLF look good on the quarter. This is a bank that you could be watching that could trigger that quarter. This almost stayed inside. Could have been a 2-1-2 up, but how are we looking at it? It's still inside year. Yeah. Netflix. So remember, Netflix earnings coming up. We got this hammer right here showing that they're buying. 2-1-2 up could possibly push towards that gap, and then UPS. So UPS had a 3 on the quarter, red, but ended here. So it didn't really look too good, but it has an inside mount that is green. So that 2 week could trigger that inside mount up, and it can provide some range there. So those are your 2 week setups. I think that was it. Yep, we went through homework and the sectors and the SPY, and I think this is long enough. Alrighty, you guys. So I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your weekend. Happy trading. Be careful this week. Take your time, make your plan, and check out some more of my videos. Bye, y'all.